So now we come to the third Johnston of the day. It's me, Olwen and Jan. And Jan is dealing with even older young people who are transiting into tertiary education with reading problems. So very interesting to hear what she's doing for them now. Thanks, Jan.
Okay, tēnā koutou, tēnā koutou, tēnā koutou katoa, ni sambula vanaka. It is indeed an honour to be here and not daunting at all. And thank you for the invitation and for the introduction, Michael. Now, firstly, a disclaimer. I'm not a formally trained reading expert. Many of you know far more than me, but I am a problem solver. I see a problem and I seek simple, effective solutions. I like to draw on the expertise of others, basing solutions on sound research and, importantly, having robust proof the solution works. So when I read in the Otago Daily Times the concerns that the new NCEA literacy standards, these are boosted up, could be too tough for some students, I contacted Dr. Michael Johnstone to tell him we had a tried and tested solution to rapidly improve reading levels in struggling readers. We use a phonics-based reading manual called Stride Ahead to Reading Fluency and Comprehension. Right, I work at the Telford campus of the Southern Institute of Technology. It's a small residential tertiary training campus located in the Catlins, so way down the bottom there. It provides land-based training to students from across Aotearoa, New Zealand. And today I will cover the following: my background, Stride Ahead origins, reading issues at Telford campus, Stride Ahead in practice, evidence of its impact, application in secondary schools, and recommendations. So I've worked as the Student Support Officer and Senior Tutor at Telford for 16 years, as well as tending our hazelnut orchard and our sheep with my husband. My office and classroom are in the old stables building on campus. Prior to that, we lived in Auckland, where I worked in secondary schools teaching ESOL, and also as HOD ESOL. Also, way back in the 1970s, as a VSA volunteer for 2 years in Fiji, I taught general science, English literature, and chicken farming. I have completed education research papers at Otago University. So, for 13 years, Telford has helped students improve their reading skills by using a manual titled Stride Ahead. So it's a phonics-based manual. It consists of timed reading exercises which strengthen neural pathways in the brain. It aims to achieve automaticity when reading phonemes. The beauty of this resource, with its clear instructions and highly structured format, means almost any literate person can pick it up and tutor a struggling reader. Think about a teacher aide, even a year 13 student on a buddy reading program with younger students. At Telford, we provide intensive one-on-one 10-minute sessions as often as possible, but we never finish the book. Accessing students at tertiary is problematic. Now, qualitative and quantitative data accumulated over 14 years delivery provides strong evidence the strategy works. It has given dramatic results. Now, Kida Cowling in the United Kingdom first created Toe by Toe, which teaches decoding. Then Kida and son Frank developed the more advanced Stride Ahead. Both programs are used extensively throughout the United Kingdom in schools and prisons. One of those schools is the Belvedere Academy in Liverpool. In preparation for this presentation, I contacted Christine Fallon in the Student Support Department of the Belvedere Academy. They deliver Stride Ahead to struggling readers from Year 8 through to Year 11. Christine tells me she loves Stride Ahead because it's simple to use, the students become more confident in reading, and progress is easily seen as their timing and error rates decrease. Now, students come to Telford for 1 or 2 years. They love the Level 3 practical farm-based training. But there is also an academic component to their training. And when I joined Telford in 2006, I discovered many students struggled with the academic side of the course. I introduced a quick reading test and found, despite an entry requirement of NCEA Level 1 literacy, over a third of the students had a reading level below that of a 10-year-old. In 2011, Telford began using the Tertiary Education Commission's new online literacy and numeracy national adult assessment tool, the LNAT, when it first became available. Our students are now assessed for reading and numeracy on the LNAT at the beginning and at the conclusion of their program of learning. And I find it a brilliant diagnostic tool for rapidly identifying students with reading issues. For those of you not familiar with the tool, step levels indicate reading level or reading ability. So here is the Level 3 agriculture cohort for this year. Step 1 on the left is the lowest reading level. Step 6, the highest, and we have no Step 6 students this year. Experience has taught us students below Step 4 are at higher risk of failure and may struggle with the academic demands of Level 3 training. Now, this is just a certificate, not a diploma. So, hold on, let me just look here. Yes, click. At Telford, we place all Step 1 and 2 and some of the Step 3 students on Stride Ahead. And on average, that's a third of the cohort are placed on the reading program. And that can be up to 15 students. A huge workload for student support staff. And this shouldn't be occurring. So let's have a quick look at Stride Ahead. It's a training manual and workbook with clear instructions for the tutor. It starts with a unique, simplified syllable division exercise, which trains students to break up words to decode. Nonsense words are used to encourage students to focus on the task. The example here shows a student's work, and I find they pick it up quickly. Students are expected to have some decoding ability, not a lot, but some. But Stride Ahead starts with revision exercises on mute and vowel combination. Note the clear instructions for the tutor on the left. Students must read through these, that's a mute, with a target time of 20 seconds with no errors. This student began at 49 seconds and took 8 attempts to reach target time. Now, this timing strategy is hugely motivating for the students, actually for tutors too. It gives an element of competition against themselves and concrete evidence of progress. Really helpful for teenage boys, particularly teenage rough and tough farming boys. Achieving target time gives a real sense of success. Then the skill introduced here is recognition of phonemes or digraphs. In this case, it's ch, th, k, and sh. Section A breaks the nonsense words into syllables for the student to decode. Section B, the student starts joining the syllables together. For example, chiffin, chiffin, chiffinak. Section C contains extra words and real words, so they can see that there's reason behind this madness. And again, nonsense words means they focus on the task, not on memory. The student is timed at the first attempt to read through the Section C list, then practices before being timed again. This student took 6 attempts to reach target time of 13 seconds. They then move on to sentences for the preceding 2 exercises. Now, they look difficult. They look like real reading, but they are very contrived and very controlled. Again, clear instructions on the left. The student is timed as they read through the sentences. This student took 1 minute, 3 seconds on their first attempt at section 1, then reached target time of 30 seconds after 5 attempts. Each time getting down a little bit further, making progress. Each section is followed by 3 comprehension questions. In 2016, I tried something. I wanted to improve their skimming and scanning, and so I gave the students a synonym or inferential word and asked them to find an appropriate sentence in the text. For example, I'd ask a student to point to a sentence about clothes. Just point to the sentence. Before I asked the comprehension question, which was, what is the stammering man wearing? Now, this resulted in a dramatic improvement to Step 2 students' success, as you will see shortly. Now, during COVID lockdown, our students were sent home. So I gave my reading students a spare copy of Stride Ahead to take with them, while I kept their copy in file. And I contacted them daily for 10-minute sessions. And it worked really well, so it can be done by distance. Now, we keep a log for each student, each Stride Ahead student. That includes their name, their class, their step level, the name of their dog, sheepdog, their date, tutor, etc. This is Guy. He's the younger of twins. While his twin brother was very academic, Guy always struggled at school. But by page 27 on Stride Ahead, I wrote this in his notes. He told me this is the first time in his life he has made positive progress with his hard work. In the past, he tried hard but always failed. Now it's as though he's in a dream and he worries he will wake up and everything will crash down again. It didn't. And this young man is working in a really good job. And his parents, his family at graduation were just absolutely over the moon. Now, I wondered what data I could use to demonstrate the effectiveness of Stride Ahead. I decided to see how many students graduated at each reading step level and to compare the results with 2011. So this is 2011. Why did I use 2011? Well, for various reasons, there was no reading intervention at Telford that year. Analysis of graduation data revealed only 33% of Step 2 students graduated and only 42% of Step 3 students. But look at the Step 4 students. 79% graduated, and it gets even more the higher you go. The better you can read, the more chances of success. We all know that. This is why I say students below Step 4 are at greater risk of failure. In 2012, we resumed Stride Ahead for Steps 1 to 3 students. Graduation rates for Step 2 students improved a bit, while Step 3 students' rates doubled and were sustained for the next 4 years. Now, just note, that red column is actually 2012 to 2015. I've done an average across there. So the blue is just 1 year, but the other is actually 4 years. So, now, if you remember, I made changes in 2016 to the comprehension questions to improve skimming and scanning, yeah? The green column demonstrates the impact of this change on our Step 2 students. Now, it didn't change it for the Step 3, but look at the Step 2. And I could not believe it. But this improvement was sustained for 3 years and beyond. So that the green column is actually for the average over 3 years. So it continued. And I'm amazed. And Try as I might, I cannot attribute the improvements to any other influences. However, I was always concerned that I was comparing graduation results with only 1 year, the 2011 year, where there was no reading intervention. Perhaps 2011 was an anomalous year. Something went wrong. So I looked for other evidence. Now, the Tertiary Education Commission's National Assessment Tool has another brilliant function. It produces gain reports after students are retested at the conclusion of their training. So, by dividing the students into two groups, the no intervention group, that's students at above step 3 or not on stride ahead for other reasons, and the stride ahead group, I could compare and contrast the average gain of the two groups. Now, in this example, you will see the average gain of the no intervention group was 3 points on the 1,000-point scale. So it's down underneath report statistics, you'll see average gain. Whereas the stride ahead group had a gain of almost 42 points. But was this a one-off? No. This graph demonstrates the average gain of the two groups over 6 years. As you would expect, students in the no intervention group, the blue line, with reading proficiency, had little to no gain each year. Sometimes they went down. But the stride ahead group, the green line, gained an average of 50 points. And some of my step 2 students actually moved up to step 4. I'm pretty happy with that evidence. Now, we also do exit interviews to assess students' experience with stride ahead. Has speed reading made a difference with your learning? Oh, I never really knew about the rules for the sounds of letters. Being able to practice reading and practice different sounds made things easier learning-wise. It definitely has helped. I have become more fluent with my reading. Were you okay with attending? It was fine. It's like, would you rather stuff around trying to read stuff and not be able to do it, or leave class for 10 minutes and get ahead? Yeah, there was a little bit of stigma, but reading's my weak point. Wow, mature, eh? It makes me feel better that I have the chance and can make progress. You'd feel stink if you didn't have the opportunity and couldn't do the work. Next, would you recommend stride ahead? I'll let you, speaks for itself. I'll let you have a quick read. Here is another example of our success. This young man from Northland graduated with a Certificate of Agriculture, and he's one of our stride ahead students. In our experience, even though stride ahead was created in the United Kingdom, we find it works well with Māori, Pākehā, Pacifica, and others. Now, last year, with Michael's support, I trialled stride ahead at South Otago High School, which is in Balclutha, our local, and with 4 struggling readers. I saw 2 students each day for one-on-one sessions for approximately 10 minutes, and they were transitioned out of form time for just 1 term. There was a bit of COVID in the middle of it. It was terrific working with the kids. They coped well with the demands of the intervention. Exit interview feedback from the students was positive, though they would have preferred longer sessions. Me too. However, the 1-term-long intervention was too short to draw robust conclusions. But I believe that stride ahead will work with Year 9 and 10 students on the basis of our experience at Telford, and so much better to deliver it before they leave school. So my recommendation, 40% of students with NCEA literacy standards have low reading levels at present. So the standards will be strengthened next year. We do not want the tougher new national standards to be an act of exclusion. So there is urgent need to act earlier to find and address reading issues. Our 14 years experience using Stride Ahead at Telford, my limited trial at South Otago High School, and the experience of schools in the UK like the Belvedere Academy prove it can be done. So poor readers at primary and secondary school, at upper primary, need to be upskilled quickly. We need a reading intervention program implemented in upper primary and secondary schools as an integral part of student support, and it needs adequate resourcing and ongoing assessment. So in my experience, to rescue reading at secondary school, all you need is a literate tutor and a very clever reading manual. Kia ora and Vinakavaka level, thank you.
Thank you so much, Jan. And I completely share your concern. I'm very glad we're going to have a rigorous literacy standard for NCEA, and I'm pleased that it is causing some consternation in terms of us having to do things better. However, I completely share your concern about the young people who have been let down by the way we've been doing things and who are now at risk of not meeting that requirement. And what you've shown us today, and I think what Olwen has shown us before you, is that it is not too late once they hit high school, and that we can't allow not knowing, quite how to go about it to stop us. And you're giving us some real clues about how we can turn things around for these students without a massive investment of it. Of course, an investment of resources is required, but gee, what is the cost of not doing that?
Well, precisely, and NCEA literacy and numeracy is required to join our Certificate of Agriculture course. So with higher standards or higher requirements for the standards, those students may not be able to get into Telford. And, we produce wonderful farmers or farm workers, and then they go on. And it also opens the door for them to move into the diploma or into other areas of education.